Hey, it's Saul Overman. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to do a review on a revolver that I've had for a long time. This is a Harrington Richardson Model 925. I've had quite a few Harrington Richardson guns over the years. I don't have any of them anymore except for this one. This one was always my favorite one, and I've kept it. I believe I obtained it in the mid 80s. This one is marked with a serial number code of AE. That puts its date of manufacture as 1968. All Harrington Richardson guns after 1940 were stamped with a letter code that started with A in 1940. So you can and ran until their company's demise in 1980. So you can easily determine the age of manufacture on any of them that were made after 1940. This is a top break. Harrington and Richardson's, Mr. Harrington and Mr. Richardson, were both employees of the Wesson factory, and you can definitely see the influence of Smith & Wesson in this gun in their top break guns. Harrington and Richardson, kind of in an unusual business decision, I think, decided to continue the manufacture of top break guns long after they'd really lost popularity with all the other manufacturers and really nobody else was making them. This particular gun, the 925 series, I believe, ended its production run in the late 70s, I believe. These come in a couple different varieties that are all marked 925. Some of them are marked 925 Defender. They have a somewhat different grip shape and a plastic grip that's a little abbreviated and a somewhat more rounded shape. You'll encounter those sometimes in 2-inch barrels. This is a 4-inch. I'm going to go over some of the features of the gun that I like and don't like. Like I said, it's top break, manual ejection. The top sight is actually your lever to release it. Double action and single action. Has really good trigger, both in double action and single action. This one did contain, when I got it, the plastic head of the mainspring assembly, and I've since changed that out to the metal part so it doesn't break. Two of those plastic ones actually broke in this gun while I had it. That information is covered in another video that I did, and there's I believe some other videos online about how to look at your Harrington Richardson firearm to determine if that part needs to be replaced. And what I can tell you is if you do look up in here, take the grips off, you look up in here and you see that white nylon part at the top of the mainspring, it does need to be replaced. Regardless of what condition it is in at that time, it will break if you use the gun. This one's chambered in 38 Smith & Wesson. I'll show you 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge. 38 Smith & Wesson is a different cartridge than 38 Special. By comparison, get them up on the camera, you can see them. The cartridge here on the right is 38 Special. This is 38 Smith & Wesson. They're not interchangeable. This is not a short version of this cartridge. It's a totally different cartridge. It actually has a unique bullet that's a different size, has a different rim thickness and diameter. They're not interchangeable at all. 38 Special shoots a bullet that's 357 in diameter. These range out to about 0.364 in diameter. These are 140 grains. This is about all you can get in this caliber is this 140, I believe they're 140 or 145 grain round nose lead. This is an obsolete cartridge. No one is making any innovations for it or loading it in any other loads. Now 38 Smith & Wesson one time was very popular. Got a lot of use in the United States military, a lot of use in the British military. They called their version the 38-200, had a 200 grain bullet. The last uses of it that I know that were any kind of government or military was the Indian National Police Force did use 38 Smith & Wesson up until, I believe, about 2000. And Ruger actually was making guns in this caliber specifically for that market. I'll show you another feature that I like about this model 925, and one of the things that's made it my favorite of all the Smith & Wessons I had. One thing is I found that the 925, even these later ones, show a higher degree of fit and finish and part fitting than a lot of the other Harrington and Richardson revolvers. These were a little bit more expensive. Harrington Richardson made some revolvers that were pretty chintzy, pretty poorly fitted, fairly poorly designed. This is definitely their better work. The thing I like about it is that this gun can be instantly disabled. There's a little lever right there in front of the cylinder. To press that lever and the cylinder comes right off and separates from the gun. This can be stored separately to make sure that the gun is absolute on safe. Some states require that people from out of state have their firearms disassembled for travel through their state. It's easily achieved with this, and it just as easily goes back together. Also makes the breech of the barrel instantly accessible for cleaning, which is something that's unheard of in a revolver. You don't have to pass the brush through the rear of the cylinder to get to clean the bore. So that part just pops right on and off. It's just a tiny little spring catch there that holds the revolver in place. Earlier Smith & Wesson or Harrington Richardson top brakes had very tiny sights on top of the barrel catch. I believe they got some criticism by that, and they kind of went overboard to correct that. It has a very large rear sight on that. Nothing wrong with that. It's a little sharp and a little snaggy on the sides, but certainly very visible. I always liked the sights on this gun. The rear sight is adjustable for windage, and the front sight is adjustable for elevation. Oddly, you have to put your hand in front of the muzzle, which is a little odd, and adjust it with that screw right there. The gun's very accurate. 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge is very pleasant to shoot. Very low noise, low recoil, low flash. The specs on the, I believe on these have them going about 840 feet per second, which is certainly much less than what you can get out of 38 Special in a lighter bullet at that. So it's not nearly as powerful as 38 Special, and not powerful at all by modern terms. Probably less actually than most 380 ACP loadings. But I certainly don't see anything wrong with it for close range hunting or home defense. Certainly a lot less possibility of putting having an over-penetration problem with 38 Smith & Wesson. Like I said, they were used by the military, they were used by the police in this country and other countries for a long time. 38 Smith & Wesson was very popular for a long time, really until it was kind of bumped out and hit a dead end by the 38 Special cartridge. This is a 38 Special speed loader for a J-frame Smith & Wesson. Works perfectly well on this gun. Pop them in. It's just as fast to load and unload as a swing out revolver. Has the typical Harrington Richardson double trigger design. The front trigger here only serves to turn the cylinder. The small trigger here is actually what drops the hammer, whether you use it in single action or double action mode. As I said, the triggers are both very good, both very reminiscent of Smith & Wesson feel. The grip is very comfortable. It has this kind of odd extension behind the trigger guard, which places your hand a little further below the bore than what you might like. Excuse me. But it still comes off, even though it's a little odd, as being very comfortable. And I've noticed that with this revolver, people with large hands and small hands all say that it's comfortable for them to shoot. Never had anybody complain about it. The bluing is very good. The polishing on it is a little odd. Shows a little bit of a lower quality or lower skilled level of polish on it. You can see the dividing line between the polishing here and this portion. Get it in catch the light just right. You can see the direction of the polishing lines change at that point, and they do it on both sides of the gun. You can see it a little bit there. And instead of going back and taking the extra step of removing those lines and making that blend as one smooth transition there, they kind of shortcutted it and stopped the polishing process at that point, but then applied a very high quality hot blue to it. This is a gun, it's 1968. It's been handled and shot a lot, and the bluing has held up excellent on it. Never had any other sort of problem with it other than what we mentioned with the mainspring. Like I said, that's a common problem with all Harrington Richardson revolvers. All of them need to be inspected to make sure they don't have that nylon head to that mainspring assembly, and if they do, then that needs to be replaced. You can get that replacements from, I believe, Bob's Gun Parts has them, and Numeric Arms also carries those metal replacements. Don't bother buying a new plastic one to replace that part with, because you're buying a piece of 30-year-old plastic or 40-year-old plastic that's gotten brittle just like the original one did. You put it in there, you shoot it a few times, it's going to break too. Those parts can be manufactured out of JB Weld or a similar product, and you can get one that would probably last pretty well that way, but just to get the metal replacement and just be done with it. So that's it. We're going to get a video here hopefully in a week of shooting this and some other guns that we've done videos on. This is, I would say, right about NRA fine, I would say. I only got a little ding I can show right there. I can get that to show in the light. Little ding right at the butt there where it took a little blow. Good quality hardwood grips, like I said before. Well, nice diamond checkering, very comfortable. It's a very enjoyable revolver to shoot. It's a little odd that a revolver this size would be only a 5-shot, and it is only 5-shot. I believe that was done as for economical reasons by Harrington Richardson, because this cylinder is actually the same size cylinder in diameter as their 6-shot 32 Smith & Wesson cylinders. And I believe instead of making 2 different size cylinders to allow an extra shot in this, they just used the 32 cylinder, bored it out to 38, made it 5-shot. You can see how small that cylinder is compared to the 38 special cartridge on top of it. And if a gun was really designed around this cylinder and around the 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge, you could definitely make a very diminutive revolver out of it. This one is quite large for that caliber and quite large for being only a 5-shot. Well, that's it. Well, thanks for watching. Like I said, we'll get a video out here really soon of us shooting this gun. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you later. This is Saul.